video, under the concept of runtime environment, we are going to see what are all the main general issues with respect to the source language. So before jumping into the issues, let us see what is this runtime environment and why a compiler should concentrate more on those kind of environment. Actually, a compiler must accurately implement the abstraction imposed by some source language. What does this abstraction means? A function, a class, or a procedure, or type of operators. These are all said to be the abstraction. The compiler must cooperate with the operating system and other system softwares to support these abstraction on the target machine. To do so, the compiler create and manage a runtime environment in which it assumes its target program are being executed. Okay, let's see what are the issues. In general, what are the issues faced by our runtime environment? So, the layout and allocation of storage location for the object named in the source program to determine. That is, you know very well, a program can be run on any kind of environment, in a very low level kind of environment, or in a very high level kind of environment like a mainframe. So, during runtime, how to allocate space for those abstractions, it has to be designed. The mechanism used by the targeted program to access the variable within the block or between the blocks and so on, and linkage between the procedure. If there are too many functions or classes between a program, how they are being linked to one procedure to another procedure. The mechanism of passing the parameter, call by value, call by reference, you would have been heard. So how the target programming doing so, and the interface of the operating system, input output device, and other programming and device elements. So how these issues is being handled by our runtime environment. We are not going to see all those topics. Just we are going to see what is what and the few technological terms used in runtime environment. Okay, before jumping to that, again we will see the example. We will be explaining the runtime environment using this quicksort example. So let me explain the example first. This example, this is the C program for a simple quicksort. You can see they have a function, 3 function and a main program. The first function is read array. So what are the value you are going to give? This will read the array. The next function is partitioning m, n. So it will be partitioning the array with respect to your m and n index. And this is sorting. Sorting between the m and n. The partitioning and sorting is being done recursively using this function and a main function. So you can see in the main function we are calling the function read array, so that whatever the input element, it is being read over here. So once the value is being read, they are initializing the first and the final array, and they are calling the quicksort function. Okay, this is with your C program. So correspondingly, what are the activation actually taking place in your program is that first we are entering the main. It look like just an procedure. What's happening actually? So it enters the main. Then we are reading the array. So here we are reading the array. Then while the reading the array, the control will go over here. So some activation will take place. Then it comes out of the function. So leaves read array. So while it comes out of the function, it will go back over here. So this initialization take place. Again, what we are calling? We are calling quicksort. So what happened? The control will be passing from here to here. So enter the quicksort 1, 9. 1, 9, it get over that. So 1 is m and n. Then here what happened? We are calling a partition. Again what happened? It enters partition 1, n. So 1, 9 partition is being called over here. So here this 1, 9 is being partitioned into 1, 3 and 5, 9 likewise. So again, once this function is being done, it returns back over here. So here we are sorting over here. So in the sorting, these two kind of sorting. So this way this program goes on. Okay. So this is just the explanation of the example. That's it. So we will see. So if we have a two procedure, like we have seen partition and quicksort. So procedure P and procedure Q, think like that. If we have like a nested 2 procedure, if an activation of procedure P calls procedure Q, okay, so here quicksort calls our partition procedure, am I right? So call procedure Q, then the activation of Q must end before the activation of P. So partition should end before the quicksort, am I right? So what are the issues may occur with respect to this procedure? So three kinds of issues may occur. What are those issues? The activation of Q terminate normally. Okay, if there is no problem, this will terminate normally. So the control will be back to your procedure P, and essentially whatever the things happens to be there, it will goes on. So then essentially any program control will resume just after the point of P at which the call of Q was made. So it's done as usual. If the activation of Q or some other procedure Q call either directly or indirectly, or sometimes the procedure over here is got aborted, then what happen? P ends simultaneously with Q. So both will end abruptly. If that's the case. If not the case, if sometimes the activation of Q terminated because of an exception. So it has been because of an exception, only Q will got terminated. Then what happened? The procedure may try to handle that exception. In such a case, Q has terminated while the activation of P continues. So this is the kind of issue which may occur with respect to your procedure. Again, so activation tree. What is this activation tree? So as we have seen, if there are so many procedures and so on, to understand the flow of program, as how we have drawn a data flow diagram, we can represent these activation procedure in a tree kind of structure. The activation of procedure during the running of the entire program can be represented like this tree structure, which is called as an activation tree. So here the root of the activation is the main procedure that initializes the execution of the program. And a node for an activation, the node or all the activation procedure P, Q, these all becomes the node. The children of the corresponding activation of the procedure are called by the activation of the P. We show that this activation in the order they called and left to right. So it has been arranged from left to right, and one child must finish before the main child, before the next child begins. So likewise the tree has to be designed. So here you can see the activation tree for this particular example. So here sort is my main function. So in the main function, first I am reading. So this is the right side. So first I am reading. So that function is over. Then what happened? I am calling quicksort 1,9. This function is being called. So over here. So this function, what it does is again call partition 1,9. So partition 1,9, it returns 4. So it's controlled back over here. Again we are doing a quicksort with respect to 1,3 and 5,9. So first the 1,3 is being done. So again with 1,3, again it goes for the partition of P of 1,3. So here again it has been partitioned and the 1 is being returned. So it has been quicksort with 1,0. So sorted between 1,0. Then we will be sorting between 2 and 3. So here again a partition happens. Partition between 2 and 3. So 2 is being returned. The value of 2 is being returned. Then quicksort between 2 and 1 happens. Then again quicksort between 3 and 3 happens. Now this side is over. Next, that goes to the other part of our child of the tree, which is partition quicksort with 5 and 9. So quicksort with 5 and 9, it goes for the partition. It returns 6. So it becomes 5, 5 and 7, 9. So with respect to 5, 5, there is nothing to be checked. So with 7, 9, again it goes for the partition. Then with 7 and 9, 8 has been returned. With 7, 7 and 9, 9, it checks. So this is how for a program an activation tree is being represented. Can be represented and find the value. Okay. So the flow of control in the program corresponds to, in our figure, it corresponds to a depth first transfer of the activation tree. It doesn't use a breadth first, it uses a depth first transfers of the activation tree. They use a stack called control stack to keep track of all the live procedure activated. and push the node when the activation begins and pop the node when the activation ends. When the node N is at the top of the stack contains the node along the path from N to the root. Okay, so we have seen how this activation tree works. And there is another data structure which is being used by the runtime environment, which is called activation record. So what this activation record holds is that the procedure calls and the return are usually managed by a runtime stack called the control stack. Each live activation of the activation is being recorded in this activation record. The root of the activation tree will be at the bottom of the stack. So we have seen from the program how we can draw this activation tree. Activation tree such as we cannot just put that into our system. We have to represent into some kind of structure. Am I right? So the tree has to be represented in some kind of structure that they called as an activation record. So in the activation record, the root of the activation tree is placed at the bottom of the stack. The entire sequence of the activation record on the stack corresponds to the path in the activation tree. So already we have seen the path taken by an activation tree is by a depth first transverse. So it takes the path in the activation tree to the activation where the control currently resides. So likewise, the stack value will be determined. Later, the activation has its record on the top of the stack. So what it has to be done first, it will be on the top of the stack. We will see the structure of an activation record. Okay, this is how an activation record look like. So this is how an activation record look like. It has 7 layers. So the top of the layer is the actual parameters. That is the actual parameter used by a calling procedure. For example, add a comma b means a comma b. The int a comma int b means int a and int b. Those parameter is held by the actual parameters. Return value. Space for the return value for the called function. So some value will be returned back to its no. So this particular space has been allocated for those return value. The next is control link. A control link points to the activation record of the caller. So who is been calling? This particular link points to the activation record of a caller, whereas an access link may be needed to locate the data needed by the called procedure. So for example, if a partition procedure needs some data, this access link will go and fetch the data. Saved machine status. It provides the information about the state of the machine just before the call of the procedure. So saved machine status, before the call of some function add a comma b, what is the status of our machine? What are the values is being stored in our target machine? So those information will be layered in this particular layer. Local data means a simple local data which is being used by that particular activation record is being stored in this local data. And temporaries or just the value which is being used for at the time of location. Maybe cannot be held in the register. It was not that important data to be held by a register. We just need it to be held and we will discard it while the expression is being gone. So this is an activation record. So through this video we have seen simply what are the general issues with respect to runtime environment and how an activation tree look like and how an activation record look like.